Hi everyone, this is Yumi from House of Hoots, and we're here with another video of Seduce Me the Otome, the visual novel game Let's Play video series. So we're Mika, the main character. Her grandfather just died. She inherited all of his estate, and she's going back to class the next day. Today is so the day that her grandfather passed away. It's time to go to sleep. I reached out to the lamp on my nightstand to turn off the lights. However, my mind was so lost in the passing of my grandfather and the thought of inheriting something so big that it haunted my mind the entire night until the next morning. I shook my head to try to clear the sleepiness out of me to no avail. I really didn't get any sleep last night. It's already time to wake up? Wait, school. As soon as I realized I had to go to school, I slid out of bed and looked at the vanity mirror. That's a relief. Luckily, there was barely a bruise on my cheek. Oh, her father hit her on the face. You had to squint to actually see it. I doubted anyone would actually notice it unless they leaned in really close. Breathing out a sigh, I got dressed, took my backpack, and caught the bus to school. It wasn't even hours before everyone heard of the news. I was approached in school and given condolences for my loss. However, that wasn't what shocked my friends.
Wait, so you have the whole Anderson house to yourself? Lucky as hell, man! Quit being so sensitive, Naomi.
Quit being so vulgar, Suzu.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Naomi because, her grandfather just died.
Oh, man, come on!
See? She knows about proper public taste.
I know how to be a lady. Sheesh.
Guys, I'm going there after school today because my parents want me to get used to living there.
Seriously? It hasn't even been a day since you came back to school.
I know, but my parents want me to try living there as soon as possible.
Still, that's really fast. Are you going to be okay?
Of course. But even in the comfort of my best friends, life seemed to keep testing me. Oof.
Hey! Don't go around shoving people like that.
Whoops. Did I strike a nerve, Capini?
She let out a small laugh as she twirled her hair around her finger. Lizette, one of the last people I wanted to see today.
It's not me you should be apologizing to.
Oh, Anderson. Hey, how's it going?
Alright.
Haven't you already heard, Lizette?
Of what?
Her grandfather's passing.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I don't really watch a lot of news.
It doesn't really sound like you mean it.
I do mean it. Earnestly. Why wouldn't I?
Typical Capini. Isn't her family involved with the mafia or something? I wouldn't be surprised if she brought out a bat from behind her back right this moment.
I had nearly forgotten the crowd that followed Lizette, which was mostly comprised of people that no one wanted to see on a typical school day. No one had the slightest idea why exactly they followed Lizette around persistently, but they labeled themselves as social equals with her.
That is out of line! Suzu comes from an honest family.
Says the one whose family profits from political scandals.
Yeah, your dad doesn't make anything unless he's in the court with dirty politicians.
Hey, let's all calm down for a second, alright? I'm sure Anderson needs some time to recuperate. I mean, what just happened? We need to give her some respect.
Just stop. Stop acting like that already. Like you feel sorry for me.
What are you talking about?
I'm sure you're happy seeing me like this. You already have everything you've wanted, and now seeing me like this, life couldn't get any better. Bitterness seeped into me, and words started flying out of my mouth without filter. But honestly, I didn't care. I was so consumed by anger that I only saw Lizette in front of me. What exactly am I to you? Just another part of your obstacle course? Is that what I am? I'm sick of it, Lizette. I'm sick of all of these charades. I'm sick of you. She looks very shocked. Can you see her eyes here? Gasps rose from the crowd around her, and I was brought back to school hallway. Even my friends beside me looked at me in surprise. One girl looked like she was going to speak up, but Lizette held her hand up to stop her. There was an emotion in her face that I couldn't quite make out, but I could see a form of pity in her eyes. "No, don't you dare pity me." I looked away from her. I didn't want to see that emotion in her eyes when she was talking to me. She didn't have the right to look at me that way.
I'm sorry. I know your grandfather passing away must have really taken a toll on your emotions.
She stepped towards me and put her hand on my shoulder, giving me a tiny smile, as if for old time's sake. But for some reason, I didn't feel comforted at all. Not that I was just angry at her, but the expression on her face when she leaned in close to me contoured into something complex. Something was different about her. I couldn't quite place my finger on it, but something about her had definitely changed.
Well, I'll be going for now. Track meet responsibilities and all of that stuff. See you later.
Something about Lizette made me feel uncomfortable. I wasn't just angry, but also uneasy. What was it? I had never seen her like that before. But I decided to pay no further attention to it. She continued running down the hallway with her gaggle of friends behind her. I refocused my attention to Mrs. Phillips, who was walking down the hall towards me.
Is everything all right, girls?
Nothing we couldn't handle, Mrs. P. Just a bunch of snobs.
Suzu, hush! It was nothing, Mrs. Phillips.
I see. Well, Miss Anderson, please accept my condolences for your loss.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips.
Your grandfather was a good man. He really upheld the philanthropy of his company's policies, and the money that went towards charity, too.
I know, he was amazing. I really looked up to him, and I want to be as good as he was.
Well, I know that you'll be as great as your grandfather.
Hell yeah, she will. She'll be 10 times better than her grandfather.
Would I? Would I really be better than my grandfather? Everyone seemed to have high expectations for me. I wanted to do my best and make my family proud, but to be better than my grandfather? I wasn't sure about that. From outside the school window, I saw a familiar blue car pull up to the curb. Undoubtedly, it was my father in the driver's seat. Oh, my ride's here. Well, I guess I'll see you both tomorrow.
Want us to come with you?
No, it's okay. I'll be fine. See you. Hey, Dad.
Hey, honey.
As I got into the car, I noticed my father looked troubled, clutching at his steering wheel and staring straight ahead, as if something was really bothering him.
About what happened yesterday. I'm sorry for yelling at you. Does your cheek still hurt?
No, it's nothing to worry about.
I mean it. I shouldn't have laid a finger on you. You know that you're my most precious daughter. You're all that I have.
Yet he couldn't bring himself to say what he could never say to me for such a long time. I always wanted to hear those words to affirm how he really felt, but I guess even now he couldn't say it to me. I turned my head away to look out the window. There was no point in waiting for something that was never going to come. And like that, he started to drive, and the conversation between us ended. I decided to focus my attention on the passing scenery. We were taking the usual route to grandfather's house. It was located within the vicinity of the school district, but it was still pretty far from the school and from where our house was. He had always lived alone. He insisted on doing things by himself, even at his age, living in such a large house. I wondered, did he pass away with no one at his side as well? It sounded so lonely and sad. It was strange that he decided on living all alone in his large estate. If anything, he could have lived with us. Though he and my father probably would have given each other the silent treatment the entire time. Maybe living alone was preferable to that. I actually hadn't visited him for quite a while. Visits to his house were most frequent when I was a child, and I had grown up long since then. The last time I visited, though, I thought he looked just as he usually was, happy and healthy. But things change. In the back of my mind, I knew that he would have to leave one day. It wasn't like humans could live forever. So why did my heart still feel so heavy? The car ride was mostly spent in silence until he spoke up again.
How was school? Maintaining your grades, I hope.
Yeah, I've been trying my best as of so far.
Trying? That's not really doing the best you can, is it?
With my father, only some words I said were filtered through his ears. It was difficult to keep up a conversation without eventually talking about academics or my future, even if it was something loosely based on it. He always found a way to integrate it whenever he talked. I think she doesn't really understand the relationship with her father. He seems like he's worried about her and he cares about her, but he can show it by being concerned about her future, and she doesn't really understand that.
Anyway, your belongings are in the trunk. There isn't a lot, so I'm sure you can manage bringing them inside the house. After all, you are on the road to being independent now.
Yes, I can manage on my own. She's 18. The usual silence resumed between us. I really wasn't sure what to say around him, especially when most of the time we didn't share the same opinions. One question did linger in my mind, though. If he was going to justify acting so nonchalant at my grandfather's funeral, I had the right to at least know why. I'm gonna try again. Say, Dad, about you and Grandpa.
We are not talking about this.
I feel like we should be, because Grandpa did leave us yesterday, so...
I wouldn't care if he had left even long before that. I do not want to hear it, and that is the end of this conversation.
As always, he managed to shut down any other form of conversation related to him. It was just like what happened last night. I opened my mouth slightly, but closed it again. It was like talking to a brick wall. It wasn't like I could find out anything by somehow arguing my way through it. Alright then. I leaned against the door and stared out the window. I really couldn't think. What would this place be like? I had been to my grandfather's house before, but it was one thing visiting and another thing actually living there. How would I manage living on my own without any training to really care for a house? I knew that naturally the bills would be paid by my parents, who inherited grandfather's stocks to the corporation, but I had never lived independently before. Thinking about it made me feel like some kind of bird being pushed out of a nest. Though I was technically an adult, I felt unprepared and a bit daunted at the prospect of actually moving into a new place. Most people my age would be ecstatic about moving out. After all, it would symbolize some kind of change in their lives, like being on the road to independence. But it felt like it was nothing of the sort. I really hoped I wouldn't let my parents down. I wouldn't want to let grandfather down. What would he be saying right now? I gazed up at the passing clouds in the sky. If you're out there, grandfather, how would you be doing? Would there be anything you'd want to tell me at this moment? And of course, no answer. What was I doing, searching for an answer in the heaven that would or would not exist? I ducked my head to stare at the blur of trees and cars from the car window. My head was definitely going to the clouds there at that moment. Either way, I found myself being driven... Oops, sorry. That happens a lot. Either way, I found myself being driven off to my new home. The car rolled up to stop and I drifted out of my thoughts.
Here we are. Go on in.
Alright, tell Mom I love her.
All right.
I love you, Dad. No, make sure to come by and visit us often. No, I'm going to miss you lots. Nothing other than a blank stare. I paused a bit before reaching for the car door handle, waiting for any form of goodbye, but he didn't speak again. I sighed and exited the car, hearing my dad pop open the trunk. I saw the 2 large bags I packed last night that were large enough to carry only the things I needed. I took them out, placed one bag on each shoulder, and closed the trunk. He then drove off, leaving me alone in the front of the mansion. I watched the blue car fade into the distance of the road before turning to see my new home. There it is. It's huge. My grandfather gave me this. It's hard to believe. Well guys, this is it for this video. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Please leave any kind of feedback on the comments and hit like if you like it and subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Bye.